Hello and welcome back to the studio. I am excited today to get started on a new oil pastel painting. This is kind of my first time doing a landscape. Now I'm working with a very beginner set of oil pastels, and you see I keep them in the lid of the kit because they're quite messy. But I've really enjoyed working with them. It feels a lot like a cross between oil painting and working with colored pencil. I am trying out gloves today. I don't know if I'll keep wearing them, but it's a lot of work to wash the oil pastels off your hands, and I often have to leave my studio, my work time in a rush, so I thought I'd try gloves. All right, so I'm going to start with our sky. So just like we would do for a watercolor, and if you haven't done a watercolor landscape tutorial with me, you wouldn't necessarily know this, but I'm going to start with the sky and kind of go top to bottom. And I'm focusing with pale blue in the corners and just kind of making sure that we're filling in some of the space. We will also go in with another blue. So this is just a light blue. It's actually pretty similar to like a cerulean, a little less green. And I'm getting lighter as I get towards the center. Then I'm going to take a little bit of, did I use ultramarine? I can't remember now. I also like to use either a paper towel or this foamy thing just to clean off my brush. You can see I've used it quite a bit just to clean off the pastel itself. And I'll have all of the individual colors linked down below if there's one that you're interested in. And again, just focusing that in the corner. It looks brighter in my rear view. I don't know how it'll look when I'm editing, but it looks very bright right now, like almost neon. It does not look quite that bright in person. It is rather bright, but it's not quite that bright. And I'm actually going to take some yellow ochre, and if you've followed one of my oil pastel tutorials already, you're probably not too surprised. And I'm just going to lightly add this in. That, when it's mixed in, will just help to desaturate everything because it is quite bright right now. Layering a little bit just on top of it because I don't want the yellow ochre to really scream, but I do want it to kind of come out. Now I'm just going to use my finger to kind of preemptively blend this out. I will be adding white to it to kind of lighten everything and get it a nice creamy consistency. But sometimes I just want everything to already be moving. Okay, so not a ton of blending, but where it's not super clumpy on top, it's all pretty smooth. And I've already got my finger kind of warmed up. Now with our white, I'm going to make sure there's no green on there. And I'm going to blend some of this color down. I'm going to start here with our white, blending, pushing pretty hard and in a circular motion. And I'm overlapping where my shrubs are going to go. And I'm just kind of working up slowly. Don't worry if it looks really weird or wonky right now. It'll get better soon. Now, I wouldn't normally recommend, some people use white to kind of blend everything. I don't really fall into that campground. I'm going to add a little bit more of the pale blue on top. Just kind of very lightly. Just getting it all over. I wouldn't say that I fall into that camp, but it does help a lot with saturation issues that you might have. And just getting the right consistency, especially with a limited palette like I have. So now I'm just kind of getting that initial blend out, and we will fuss with it in a little bit. I wonder if I should have gotten a smaller size so it'd be nice and tight. I've literally never done any form of painting or work with gloves on other than gardening, so this feels really weird. We'll see how it goes. All right, back with the pale blue a little bit, just to really get the color where we want it to be. The ultramarine, oops. In the colors, or in the corners to just get that vignette. And if you were to look at your sky outside, as long as it's not as cloudy as it is for me today, you'll see that the bulk of the color of your sky is going to be at the top of your vision. And it gets lighter as it goes closer to the horizon line, so we want to mimic that. The biggest issue that I have found with blending, or the thing that helps the most, again, in my limited experience, but what I have learned is that you really need to make sure that you have enough pigment on your paper to make blending possible. Otherwise, it's just not going to work. That was pale blue again, and I'm going to take our yellow ochre and I'm going to kind of mix it in here. Then with the same finger, so I've got some of the white on here, I'm just going to kind of blend this out. To create kind of like a hazy shape in the background. I like to have some sort of either mountainous or foliage, just something in the background that has a little bit of weight. When everything overlaps, it'll look a little bit more normal, but I'm just kind of trying to create something in the background that your eye will pick up on. All right, now we're going to go in on the grass, and then we'll add the foliage in here. Now I can, if I want my finger cleaned off, I can just kind of wipe it off. I picked up some color. I have to get paper towels in here. Look at me defeating the purpose of the gloves. Anyway, I'm going to go in again with yellow ochre. I'm going to start with this because I want everything to have a little bit of desaturation and not be super bright, because these colors are like straight out of the box super bright, which is fine. I would rather, if I'm going to have a limited set, I'd rather them be a little bit brighter, because you can always desaturate things by adding complementary or split complementary colors like we are here. If I really wanted to desaturate it a lot, I would go in with red a little bit more, or I enjoyed using ultramarine a bit for here as well. So I'm just gonna completely cover it with this Cinnabar green yellow. And then I am going to go in a little bit with ultramarine. Again, kind of framing in the edges. It's just nice to visually add it in. You obviously don't want to go too far, but it just kind of caps it a little bit in a way that is visually pleasing. So I'm going to add in a little bit here where there will be shadows from our foliage, as well as just a touch of red. Again, because the green is complementary. Now I'm going in with medium green, which is the darker green that I have, and I'm pushing a little bit harder on these edges to kind of help blend in some of these deeper colors. Might need to add a little bit more yellow ochre, but so far we're looking okay. And now back in with our, what are you, Cinnabar green yellow. And I'm going to kind of have this lighter area. It'll work, I promise. I know it looks kind of wild now. And I'm just gonna try kind of getting this base blended out. Because this is closer to us, we'll add some more detail than we did with the sky. Let's get a little bit more in here. See how we've got like these bald spots in here? That's what I mean when I say like, it's really important to get enough of that color down so that you have something to mix with without creating some of those bald spots. And I might even just be a little too aggressive with my application or with my blending, but I definitely get a lot of little bald spots. All right, so now we have kind of a base formed, but I want to create a little bit more of like a path, so it kind of draws your eye in. So I'm going to add more of this deeper color in here, kind of fine tune that, as well as the ultramarine blue. And then we'll keep blending that in. I do have a little bit of trouble getting ultramarine to layer well. It's a little bit harder than the rest of these super creamy colors are. All right, see how we kind of have now this movement in here? I'm going to go in again with our medium green, and I'm going to be a little bit messier. So we've got kind of our background in, and I want to add back some of that texture. So, and I might even kind of spread up in a different way just to kind of add some variety in here. Kind of blending those two together. And you don't have to do this. I'm making it up as I go. I kind of have an idea of what I want in my head, but we'll see how it happens. Now I'm taking lemon yellow and I'm just going to kind of lightly, I'm not being very light. I'm pressing pretty hard, but I'm just doing like little flicks like this. And we will kind of blend that in, but letting it kind of highlight a path type section. I could do like a more of a beaten path, like a dusty path, but again, with my limited color palette, it just doesn't work as well. All right, now I'm going to go in a little bit messier, not quite as hard, but rubbing a little bit more back and forth to kind of blend out some of what we have. All right, I'm enjoying that right now. I'm going to add just a little bit of red here, just because I want to. Okay, now let's start on the foliage. See, I told you this would be pretty quick. We're already making some really good progress. I'm just taking my dirty finger and spreading it on there, and then I'm going to kind of, I don't need to be super clean because it's going to be similar colors. I'm going to block out general shape with the lighter green, cinnabar green yellow, very lightly. I want this one to be kind of a medium height, and it's going to come down and overlap a little bit. We got a little shorty over here. And then a taller one. Taller, wider. The mama bear of our foliage. Back in with our French ultramarine, right? French ultramarine, yes. And I'm gonna pick a side to be the shadows. I'm gonna stay, let's say left hand is our shadows. I think that's generally my default. So sorry if you're sick of having left-handed shadows. But see how this extra little bit of depth in here is already a little bit more interesting as things start to overlap. I have a lot of green on here, so sometimes I just kind of whoop. But because the ultramarine is difficult to blend in, I'm starting with it pretty quickly to get some of these sections. And I'm breaking in here. It's almost like an E shape so that there are areas, it gives it a little bit more of a layered effect, where if you look at trees, there's going to be sections that are in shadow, sections that are jutting out a little bit more and going to have a little bit more emphasis or a little bit more of a highlight. Darker green in here, kind of marrying these two before we go in a little bit more messy. And then our cinnabar green, or kind of our main green today, just kind of going over everything. Don't forget to get that edge. And we'll fine tune this in just a minute, but kind of trying to get the base of what we're working with. See, I see that this shadow is only on the left side. It should be on the bottom as well. I think I want, whoops. See why I keep it in the box? This is our darker green, our medium green. A little bit of red down here. Again, to really desaturate it and create that deeper shadow. I'm also going to take a little bit of our medium green, just I want this to curve just a little bit more. A little more of our ultramarine down here. now I'm going to blend this out just a touch to start so that they're not quite so punchy. But you can see where we're going with this. All right, quick wipe off of the finger, and I'm gonna blend these all together. And I'm okay if this texture gets a little messier. And I'm pulling this back a little bit. So I'm okay with texture. I'm not inviting a lot of it to the party. Smooth it out. And I'm working kind of from, you know, the lighter areas and then moving into those darker areas. Just trying not to, you know, like go over everything all at the same time so that it has a chance to kind of create that gradient. All right, so now it's smoothed out, but it's a little too smooth for my taste. So I'm going to go in again with our lighter green and just kind of add some more rough details, just like we did with the yellow originally, and just kind of dabbing but moving it just ever so slightly, keeping it in the highlights, the highlighted areas, the lighter areas. And then I'm going to do the same thing with our lemon yellow. And I might like overlap out a little bit, kind of like there's an individual branch here. There's the leader of the tree. That was obviously in the shadow. With the darker green, I'm going to do kind of the same thing on this side. I might have to go in with the blue a little bit. I don't think that's quite dark enough. All right, ultramarine, don't fail me now. Yeah, she doesn't really want to blend. She just wants to push stuff around. But that's okay. And just be strategic and minimal. I'm going to add a little bit in here where I'd really like to have some of that deeper color. Taking it and just twisting it to get kind of any excess softer pigment off. And then continuing up here. Kind of just repeating the process, but with a little bit more pigment just to build up some good strength. All right, now we're going to go in with our yellow. It's dirty, that's okay because it's dirty with the color we're using. And just kind of depositing little spots of this color. Less than we did with the lighter green a few minutes ago. And then wiping my finger off. I'm mostly tapping, just a little bit of a pull type flick in order to blend it a little bit, but I want that individual color and the texture to remain. I really like this one. What's going on with you? Get with the program. Taking our medium green, just adding a little bit in there for a little definition. You might not need it. Taking our yellow again, just gently, oops, clean finger. I'm blending this towards that gray color that we made to allow it to just fade. And let's see, this color we used for the sky, our pale blue, just adding that a little bit to create that aerial perspective. So in this situation, the blue is what we used for our sky. So since it's farther away, there's going to be more of that blue color in view. And then taking our yellow again, I'm going to clean it off. And I might kind of define a section over here a little bit more. And then kind of go down here. Just letting it kind of move a little bit. I'm going to pull this red down here just a little bit, just tiny little minimal flicks. All right, and there you go. Now if you wanted to add some clouds, because who doesn't want to add some cutie patootie little clouds, now is when I would do it. I wouldn't do it when you are like actively mixing the sky together. There's something about these paints, even though they're super soft, if you give them a chance to rest, they seem to be more usable and a little bit more workable. So if I wanted to add a cloud in here, I'd clean off my white. I'm doing circular motions, not just because I want some fluffy clouds, but to deposit more of that color. Oops, I picked up some green. That'll be all right, but it's a little annoying. All right, I'm going to take this off and using a clean finger, just again in kind of swoopy motions, being very careful not to like pick up any other colors. You could have done this underneath the trees and that would have been fine. I would have, again, just kind of, I've found that waiting a little bit before I work on whatever layer I've blended seems to give it a chance to not really dry down, because these are oil pastels, they don't fully dry down. Gives it a chance to kind of set so it's easier to layer colors on top of it. So if I felt like I wasn't able to work these trees anymore, I would take some time away and let them kind of rest and set. And then before I'm done with that, I'm just going to kind of sweep back and forth a little bit just to soften everything. And taking a step back just to kind of observe to look, I'm going to add a little bit more of the sky blue. So the same color we used for the sky, pale blue, what color are you? Pale blue. I'm going to add some of it down here. I kind of just want these a little bit more connected. This is not necessary, and it might not even be a good idea. But I kind of like that little bit of unity. And it's analogous, so it works. Like, I'm not going to take the sky up, or the green up into the sky on purpose. But some of this little bit of blue, just kind of nice. Anyway, I hope that you enjoyed this tutorial, that you found it helpful, and that you are enjoying exploring oil pastels with me. I am absolutely loving it. If you'd like to see another landscape or a different kind of oil pastel project, let me know in the comment section down below. Don't forget, if you like this video, give it a thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe on your way out. I hope that you are having a wonderful, wonderful day, and until next time, happy painting.